So now, moving on in the program, let's hear from Jonathan Morris. I had the chance recently to sit down with our featured speaker, Jonathan. If you don't know him, he's an entrepreneur, creative, an unofficial, but now should be an official Fort Worth ambassador. He has a new hotel going up. He's got a small business, the Fort Worth Barbershop, and now a TV show on the Magnolia Network. If you don't know, the Magnolia Network is Chip and Joanna Gaines' newest venture. So we're incredibly proud to have him as our featured speaker. I know you'll enjoy hearing his story and what's coming up next for him. Hey everybody, thanks for joining us. I've got Jonathan Morris here with me, the man, the myth, the legend, Fort Worth entrepreneur extraordinaire. He's got some businesses going here. He's got some up-and-coming businesses. He's recently announced that he'll be starring in a new show, Self-Employed, on the Magnolia Network, which we're pumped about. We'll talk about a little bit this afternoon. Jonathan, welcome. We're pumped to have you with us.
I'm glad to be here.
So, when we get started, I always want to find out, even though I know you, tell the audience, what's your story? Where are you from? Where'd you grow up? A little bit about yourself.
Okay. All right. So, I am an entrepreneur. I live here in Fort Worth. I have deep roots in Fort Worth. I didn't grow up in Fort Worth. My parents, grandparents are all from here, right? So I got here in 2012.
Okay.
2012, my wife and I, we got married, moved to Fort Worth. And since then, I've called it home. Although, growing up, came here, visited here, and was very familiar with Fort Worth and always felt very close to it. In 2012, finally made it home. And in that time, I'm working in Dallas, commuting back and forth in Fort Worth, and I was in the agency space, in the advertising agency space.
Yeah, so that's what I wanted to ask. So your first job, you were working for the man, doing the career thing. You weren't an entrepreneur.
Well, yes and no. I was doing the career thing, but within my DNA was entrepreneurship. I think very deeply. Ever since I was a kid, I was always selling things to my classmates and to my friends, to my family. So very early on, I think I got that entrepreneurial bug. And since then, I've been coming up with new ways to create products and services to position to the people in my community.
I love it. So, been here since 2012, been an entrepreneur in Fort Worth. How has it been being an entrepreneur in the city of Fort Worth?
Brandom, I could not imagine a better landscape to be doing business, in particularly small business. And I think that's true for me, at least for a couple of reasons. Number one, when I opened up Fort Worth Barbershop in 2014, in the same way, like the bookmarks almost, I looked around and, I was like, there has to be the barbershop for me in this city. And I looked online and I asked my friends and I asked my family in Fort Worth, and everybody essentially was really apathetic to their barbershop experience. Mm-hmm. And when I looked around, and I'm like, man, this city, at the time, I think we might have been like in the, around 800,000 something people. And I'm like, man, this city is way too big to be missing, certain pockets and certain things that, if you look around the country and you look around the world, those gaps are being filled, right? Mm-hmm. And in that case, in the barbershop space, I just felt like it could be done not necessarily better, but different in such a way that would be a space that I would respond to, a space that I would want to go to. And I felt like I couldn't be the only one looking for this experience. Yeah. And so when that happened, very quickly, the community responded to positioning something a little bit different than what Fort Worth had seen before. And on top of that, everybody says Fort Worth is a big city with a small town feel, right? And I think that there's something special. It's so cliche, right? But I feel like there's something kind of special in that, because in the same way that we have that familiarity with one another, and I think a very special connectivity with one another, we're also creeping towards 1 million people, right? And so for a small business, you know, we don't necessarily have to capture every heart, but at the same time, there's a lot of volume, right? There's a lot of people, there's a lot of population that are looking for a lot of things. So whether that be a barbershop or coffee shop or cleaners, there's a lot of space for growth, and I feel like we're still missing a lot of things that we need small businesses and entrepreneurs to plug.
Yep. I remember moving to town 4 years ago, and y'all, I hear about this barber shop that I got to go to, and it's Jonathan Morris, and you know, I wanted to help support small business, and I get there, and I'm like, all right, ready for my haircut, Jonathan. And Jonathan doesn't cut hair.
No.
You're not a barber at all.
No, nobody.
Which is the greatest part of the story, is that, to your point, you saw a need, and you saw somewhere where you'd like to go, and it wasn't being addressed, and so you were able to do something.
I'm gonna tell you what, man. I couldn't tell you how many people have told me they want for me to cut their hair, and I told them that's not what you want. You know, but yeah, no, you know, when I think about entrepreneurship, for me, in terms of the barbershop space, it wasn't from the standpoint of I know how to do this. I have this skill. Right. But I said, you know what? I want to find people that do, and create an environment, a work environment for those people to do what they do really well and do it a lot and connect with the community. And on my end, thinking about this small business, really putting myself in the shoes of a consumer and really being empathetic to what the marketplace is looking for and being able to create an environment for that.
All right, so I'm going to transition now. Then we're going to go. I had some questions for you at the end. This is the heavy stuff.
I got time, Brandon.
This is the heavy stuff. You started to introduce this with some serious conversations about some opportunities Fort Worth has. So I'm going to get real and just ask you some questions. So
get real.
Can you talk to me, being an ignorant, white man in Fort Worth, and just not aware of certain things? What has been your experience, first of all, being a black man and an entrepreneur, and what has that been like in Fort Worth specifically?
I will say that there are moments of microaggressions that I get to experience from time to time. I think that by and large, the community in Fort Worth, and particularly the community that I care to surround myself around, has been very supportive and embracing. But here's what I think is really important for me as a black man in America and an entrepreneur in Fort Worth is, for so many people. People say, and I embrace this sentiment so much, is representation matters, right? So for me, what that means is it's really important to me that a young black person, young black kid who is selling bookmarks at his school, right, sees me as an entrepreneur, right? Just one job, it's just one thing that you can do, right? But it's important to be seen, right? At the same time, it's really, really important to me also that this old white guy that he ain't ever seen anybody look like me, that talks like me, that's from where I'm from, and has the experience that I have in business, at least, do what I'm doing, or in the spaces that I'm in, or being invited to the tables that I'm able to be invited to. It's really important that he sees that representation as well. Because I think that what we have is an opportunity to shift paradigms of what can be, and not just what can be, what is, and shed more light on people that are bringing new perspectives and new ideas to our city, to our nation, to our world, And I think that if there's one thing that I can do in Fort Worth as an entrepreneur, is to bust down doors of opportunity and bust down doors of representation, so that, when I look up years from now, there's a lot of Jonathan Morrises sitting in the same chairs, sitting at the same tables, being invited to the same talks and boards and influential spaces that I have been, and I don't feel like there's enough as it exists right now, but I'm very optimistic that we're gonna see more.
Right. Well, and that's what I appreciate about what you do and the work that you do. You mentioned the barbershop. Just in your work, and this is what small business does in general, right? Small business helps create the culture of a community.
Yeah.
And you've done that with your work in the barbershop. And as you said, it's bringing people together from different cultures, races, backgrounds.
I love it, man, because it's like, there might be, with the barbershop, we bring in so many different people from so many different worlds, right? From, your blue collar guys to your C-suite executive guys, and we're sharing this space, right? And, any given time you look in a barber chair and there's, a oil executive, and guess what? Like, he's listening to Nas's Illmatic album, maybe for the first time, right? And to me, it's important. It's important to create spaces where people are exposed to people and ideas that push you and allow you to think about your world as being maybe a little bit bigger than it is.
Yep. I love it, man. You're inspiring. All right, so we'll transition a little bit, and we'll go back to this new amazing show called Self-Employed. That's going to be. We'll talk a little bit more about Self-Employed, but before we do, the cool part about this, and I think why the community is excited about this, is it's an opportunity for you as a Fort Worthian to showcase your hometown. Even though you'll be doing different stuff, is what I'm told.
Yeah.
What do you hope people see, hear, feel about Fort Worth from this show and your involvement?
I think that it's a really cool opportunity to tell them maybe a bigger story about Fort Worth. I think that for so long as a city we've been pigeonholed, and people think that we're just one thing, and cowboys, and we are, right? But we're more than that, right? As much as we are a cow town, we're a funky town too. That's right. And so I hope that people are able to see Fort Worth as a multi-dimensional city, as a dynamic city, as a city that is not perfect, but a city that wants to be better, and a city that is making strides to become better than we have been before.
Yeah. Well, I want you to tell the story of just how this came about and what happened and how did you get this TV show?
I'm going to try to tell the very short story of how this all transpired. So maybe about a year ago, last summer of 2019, before the world flipped on its head, my good friend Red Sanders, he called me and said, "Hey," so Red talks. "Hey, so I was wondering, I just got back from Waco and met with the Magnolia team. I don't know if you heard about this, but they're actually launching their own network, Chip and Joanna Gaines. And I kind of told them about you and about what you do in Fort Worth, and I was like, all right, cool. Do you think that you'd be interested in maybe possibly doing a TV show, maybe?" And I was like, "Okay, well, what's it gonna be about?" It's like, well,
is this a reality show?
No. So Red says, "Well, I had to convince them that you're not an actual barber, but you have a barbershop, right?" So we start that conversation of okay, so what would this look like? And so eventually, in the fall of last year, we started shooting basically an idea for what a TV show could look like here in Fort Worth.
Now, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
So is this you and Red sort of getting around the table with Red's team, pitching the idea, or was Chip and Joanna's network sort of saying, "Here's some concepts we want you to put together"?
So let me back up just a little bit. So last year, or like 2 years ago, shot this spot for Visit Fort Worth as part of their Fort Worth Stories,
Yep.
right? And that was shot by Warren Cook, Make Something Beautiful.
Yep.
Another video production creatives here in Fort Worth. And so that came out. Red actually showed that video to the Magnolia people. Okay. They're like, oh, this guy in his barbershop. And they were like, okay, we like this guy and seems like a fun thing that they're doing. And then from there, they said, can we create an idea of what a show? And so Red and his team pitched to them basically an idea of what a show could look like around this entrepreneur and this space that we're creating here in Fort Worth. And from there, the idea for the show was iterated. We sent things back and forth to the the TV people in TV world and TV land. And eventually what we landed on was this idea that I would go around the country and talk to other entrepreneurs like myself who are creating businesses and really leaning into entrepreneurship and have inspiring stories to tell. And I told Red's team, I'm like, I'm not an actor. One, if we do anything, I want to make sure that we are telling authentic, real stories.
You can be yourself.
That are inspired. I want to talk to people who are inspiring to me, and so, not only is it TV world, but quite frankly, it's what I love doing. I really enjoy sitting down, talking to entrepreneurs, whether it be traveling or even just right here in my own city. I'm particularly inspired by other people who are in the mix of entrepreneurship, and they push me and propel me and teach me and mentor me. And so the idea of essentially taking that thing that I'm already doing on a day-to-day basis, but just very casually, and turning that into a television show that can be amplified, those same conversations that I might just be having in a coffee shop with one of my friends who just opened up a new restaurant in Fort Worth. That same conversation or types of conversations being amplified to a really large audience. It seemed like a fun idea, so I said, okay, Red, let's do this.
There we go. So tell us about, have you started filming? When will you film? When will it air? I'm sure COVID has maybe wrapped some problems in it or not.
Absolutely. So we just started filming this past week, and we'll continue to film this fall, and the network will eventually launch next year, hopefully next spring. We're getting to hear and learn about how these entrepreneurs are dealing with COVID, because it's literally something everybody in some capacity has had to pivot and learn new ways of operating businesses. Yep. In a lot of ways, it feels like we're launching brand new businesses from scratch.
That's right.
This could be a really huge opportunity to showcase Fort Worth in a way, man. I'd love for someone to be watching this show in Knoxville, Tennessee, and you know what? I'm gonna open up my second location of my Knoxville hot chicken or whatever they do in Knoxville here in Fort Worth, Texas. Right. And I welcome that growth and welcome more entrepreneurship. We hope to really shine a light on the city. I think that personally, I'm very biased, but I think that the small business community and entrepreneurship is one of the most interesting and compelling stories that Fort Worth has to tell. That's right. Because we got a lot of people who are doing really creative things and introducing Fort Worth and introducing the world to a little taste of who we are and what we represent. So the more people we can tell about what's happening here, I think that it could end up being a huge recruiting tool.
That's right.
But ultimately we want to put Fort Worth in a true light.
That's right.
We're a city with our own issues, our own problems, our own tragedies. But at the same time, I believe that we're a city that wants to be better than we were before. And I think that the entrepreneurial side of our city and that community is going to continue to be a big part of that, what pushes us that direction.
Yep. So before we wrap things up, you know, not only do you have a lathery, a barber shop, you're on TV now, apparently across the world, which is so cool. But also, this would be a good time, you thought, while this is going on, I think I'd like to start a hotel.
Yeah, let's go.
So I know we were on the Tony Green show that we were on.
Hello, I'm Tony Green.
Hello, I'm Tony Green.
Shout out Tony Green.
That's right, Tony Green. Thank you. We were on the Christmas special, and you launched the name of the hotel that night.
Yes.
Hotel Dryce. So tell us about this hotel project that you've just added to your small list of activities.
Yeah, man. You know, before I knew what a COVID-19 was, I you know, I always had this idea in the back of my head that I'd love to start a small hotel. Quite frankly, I think that was birthed out of traveling and staying at what, you know, I felt like a really cool, you know, small hotels that really give visitors a sense of where they are. Mm-hmm. And I'd come back to Fort Worth and be kind of envious that we don't have that same story to tell in the way that I think it could be told in Fort Worth, right? And so the old dry ice building in the Cultural District came up for sale. And so myself and my business partner, Alan Maderos, we said, hey, let's buy this building. And, you know, right across the street, this huge arena is, you know, about to open. This is back in 2018, so before the Dickies Arena had opened. And we felt like, you know, this could be a really great opportunity to, number one, give this old building, you know, a new life here in the Cultural District. But also, like, let's tell people something about our city through this hotel that is not being told yet. Mm-hmm. And for me, Hotel Dryce, as we're, you know, in the middle of construction, we started construction like right as this pandemic was taking over the world. But Hotel Dryce, for me, is an opportunity to tell people about the Fort Worth that I know, right? And tell people about the Fort Worth that is growing and evolving, and quite frankly, again, like what Fort Worth can be. That's what we want to. That's what we want to express through the walls of this small hotel. It is a opportunity to express what Cowtown is, what Funky Town is, what Panther City is, why we love this city, and express those sentiments to visitors. But we're also very, very excited to create this space where locals want to be too. We've got this, what I think will be one of the best courtyards in the city, in a intimate lobby bar. And we want people to connect in those spaces, and we want for locals to meet visitors and visitors to meet locals, and be a gathering place that, again, expresses why we love this city.
That's awesome. I'm so excited. So 2021 is a big year for you.
I think so, man.
I
think so.
I love it.
I'm excited about what the year holds. At the same time, you know, I think 2020 has taught us to be ready for anything. Mm-hmm. And so in 2021, I'm ready for anything, and I'm excited to be living it out here in Fort Worth.
I love it. I love it. Is there anything else you'd like to say? Any other thoughts? Anything we haven't talked about? You feeling good?
Watch Self-Employed on the Magnolia Network in 2021.
Yes, that's right. So 2021 is the year. I'll give you a little air kick here.
Yeah.
Appreciate you for doing this. Jonathan Morris, he's going to be at a barber shop, a lathery, on the TV, or in a hotel near you in 2021. So you make Fort Worth proud. We're so blessed to have you here. Thanks for taking the time to be with us, and look forward to all your future endeavors.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty, folks, we're at the end of our program, so I want to thank you all for joining us today. And again, thank you to our sponsors who made this event possible. Our presenting sponsor, Frost, our Spirit of Enterprise sponsor, BNSF Railway, Susan Halsey Award sponsor, Jackson Walker LLP, and our platinum sponsors, Baylor Scott & White All Saints Medical Center, Fort Worth, GM Financial, Hillwood Properties, Walsh Companies, and our gold, silver, and bronze sponsors. Everyone stay safe, wear a mask, and we hope to see you soon. See you later.